They thought they could use the Mongols as pawns. But the Mongols weren't playing the same game. When the Song Dynasty aligned with a foreign power in a local conflict to annihilate their enemies, they didn't just destroy their enemies, they brought ruin upon themselves. This is the story of how one alliance shattered two dynasties and gave birth to foreign rule over all of China. In the 12th century, China was split between two rivals, the Jin Dynasty and the Song Dynasty. To understand the Jin, we must return to their roots. The Jurchens, once forest-dwelling nomads in Manchuria, were subjects of the Khitan-led Liao dynasty, but resentment grew. In 1115, a fierce Jurchen leader named Aguda declared a new dynasty, the Jin, meaning golden. With disciplined cavalry and fierce ambition, they swiftly moved to crush the Liao. The Song saw an opportunity. They allied with the Jurchen, which was now the new Jin dynasty, to defeat the Liao from both north and south. But why? The Song wanted to recover the strategic 6 prefectures which had been lost to Liao years earlier, cutting off the Song from key northern defenses. Also, the Song wanted to end the Treaty of Shanyuan, which requires them to pay Liao yearly tributes just to avoid war. So the Song viewed the Jin as a useful ally to accomplish this. But while the Jin succeeded, the Song faltered. Flush with victory, the Jin dynasty betrayed the Song. In 1127, they invaded Kaifeng, the Song capital, capturing 2 emperors in the infamous Jingkang Incident. The northern Song fell in shame. The Song fled south and built a new dynasty which became the Southern Song Dynasty, but the damage was done. What began as a partnership ended in betrayal, and a fractured China was left behind. While Song and Jin remained locked in a bitter rivalry, another power was rising in the distance, the Mongols. Led by Temujin, later known as Genghis Khan, they united the fractured steppe tribes and became the greatest military force the world had ever seen. But the Mongols weren't just warriors. They were architects of empire, ruthless in strategy, unmatched in ambition, and they were watching China. The Mongols turned their gaze toward China, first subduing the Western Xia in a swift campaign, then marching east to confront the might of the Jin dynasty. The Jin, once a formidable power, had been weakened by decades of war with the Song and were now facing a new and far more dangerous enemy. The Mongols, under Genghis Khan, launched a series of devastating invasions, systematically dismantling the Jin defenses. By the 1320s, the Jin were crumbling under Mongol pressure. The Song dynasty saw an opportunity. They approached the Mongols with a proposal: "Let us destroy our mutual enemy, and we will divide the spoils." This was the critical misstep. Instead of building up their own strength, the Song opened the gates to a foreign force, trusting that the Mongols would stop after defeating the Jin. But history teaches us, never invite an outsider to solve your internal conflicts. They may help you win the battle, but at the cost of the war. Together, Song and Mongol forces crushed the Jin. In 1234, the Jin dynasty collapsed. The Song rejoiced, believing they had vanquished their enemies. But in truth, they had only removed the final barrier between themselves and a far greater threat. Later on, the Mongols began their assault on the Song. While there were some diplomatic interactions, the overall relationship was characterized by a rapid escalation of hostilities and a primary focus on military conquest by the Mongols. The Song had removed their neighbor and invited a predator, into their home. The Mongols were not a force you could direct. Once unleashed, they were unstoppable. What the song failed to grasp was that the Mongols never played by anyone's rules but their own. The song fought back. Their navy was the strongest in the world. Their cities were fortified. Their scholars worked tirelessly to improve gunpowder weapons. But none of it was enough. The Mongols adapted. They built their own fleet. They laid siege to strongholds for years. They learned every lesson their enemies taught. In 1279, after decades of resistance, the Southern Song Dynasty met its tragic end at the Battle of Yamen. The last Song emperor, a child, was carried into battle aboard a warship, a symbol of the dynasty's desperate struggle for survival. As Mongol forces closed in, his loyal guardian, Lu Xiufu, made a final, heart-wrenching decision. Rather than allow the emperor to fall into enemy hands, he leapt into the sea with him, ending the Song dynasty in a final act of defiance and despair. The Southern Song had fallen after 152 years of existence. The conquest Genghis Khan started passed on to his sons and grandsons, which is a mission of expansion and dominion continued after his death. Years later, it was Kublai Khan, his grandson, who crossed that threshold. Where Genghis shattered dynasties, Kublai would claim the mandate to rule. He crushed the final remnants of the Song, not just as a conqueror, but as the emperor of a new dynasty, the Yuan. Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, had established the Yuan dynasty, becoming the first foreign ruler to unite all of China. The Yuan dynasty was a time of great change, marked by both destruction and construction. When a nation aligns with outsiders into its internal battles, it risks becoming the battleground itself. The Song learned this too late. Let history speak. Never align with a fire to extinguish smoke. If this story made you reflect, subscribe for more content. And remember, the greatest threats are often the ones we welcome by aligning with it.